Welcome to our open book. Very good to be with you. I'm very glad we can talk tonight. Ken Davidoff
Suki, I'm
joins
not
us
sure you've gone
now.
live yet.
Are we not? Yeah. Oh, Carla Atkinson, Andrea
There we
Elizabeth
go.
Mitchell, Darlene, David McGirt, Peggy Olson. Peggy Olson was on Mad Men, right? Okay. John
Yes.
Mahoney. Very good to see everybody coming in. Ken Davidoff joins us now. He's been covering Major League Baseball for 30 years. He's a longtime baseball columnist at the New York Post, former president of the Baseball Writers Association of America. You're now teaching at Endicott College, too, in
Yes, sir.
Beverly, Massachusetts. He has co-written a book with Harley A. Rothbart, MD, a pediatrician, physician, as well as author of 6 books for general audiences. This is a book that justifies everything I've ever believed as a baseball fan. 101 Lessons from the Dugout, what baseball and softball can teach us about the game of life. And I have to admit, when I opened it, I was just a little bit skeptical because we have to be careful about asserting this, right? Even though phrases from baseball slip into our everyday nomenclature. But boy, it certainly convinced me. Well, Ken, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Scott. It is truly a pleasure.
And you and Dr. Rothbart say at the open that you've got a goal in writing the book, but it has to do with parents and coaches, right? And just being there.
Sure. Well, look, there's the obvious logistical component of parents and coaches are more likely to buy a book than Little League players themselves. But beyond that, yeah, our hope is that parents and coaches will share this with their players, and that their players will encourage their parents and coaches to read it with them. This book is, as you know, is broken down to 101 chapters that are largely 1 or 2 pages, so largely digestible pages, the kind of book that you can absorb 1 chapter or 10 chapters and then put it down and pick it up when you're next inclined to do so. And we hope that we've made it accessible to our young target audience by creating analogies from the field to the rest of their lives.
What put this in your mind?
Well, I really have to credit my co-author, Dr. Rothbart, Scott. He was at the grassroots level. He was coaching his kids in Little League and high school, and then treating young people as a pediatrician. Harley just retired a few years back. And so he could not only love the games and witness all these nuances, but see the challenges and triumphs that these young people were facing. And some of these analogies just kind of occurred to him. He had a light bulb moment. And then I was fortunate enough to be invited to the party because Harley thought that my perspective, having covered baseball at the highest level, would blend nicely with his perspective of having dealt with baseball and dealt with young people at the grassroots level.
Let me get really practical. What can we learn from a first baseman stretching to make the out?
Yes, sir. So believe it or not, Scott, that was Harley's light bulb moment. So a first baseman has to stretch, right, and he keeps his foot on the bag, and he has to stretch to help out his fellow infielders, right? When the second baseman, shortstop, third baseman throw the ball a little wide or a little low or a little high, the first baseman has to stretch. And in the same way in life, like you try to stretch to help your teammates, right? No matter what walk of life, try to help your friends and stretch to work with them and accommodate them. Whether you're doing a school project, okay, let's say drawing or isn't my favorite thing, but I'll stretch in order to make this project work. And then the other component is sometimes you don't stretch. If the ball is thrown so off, you have to get off the bag, right, to corral the baseball, and you're not going to get the out, but at least no one else is going to advance further. And Harley, believe it or not, was treating a young person who played baseball, who played first base, and was hanging out with a crowd that wasn't great. And Harley said to him, like, you need to take your foot off the bag because this is not working. You need to just kind of gather yourself, metaphorically get the baseball, prevent more runs from scoring, prevent more trouble from occurring, because this crowd is making you stretch too much. So that's the analogy there.
You also say not all big accomplishments in life are home runs. Meaning,
Not all accomplishments in life are home runs?
not all big accomplishments in life are home runs.
Right. So, so that one, we have a chapter on home runs where we talk about, that many accomplishments in your life can feel like home runs, but obviously not all are. So, there are singles, doubles, triples. But the chapter on home runs, we talked about, take a moment to thank everyone when you hit a home run, an actual home run, or another big accomplishment in life. And you're enough of a student, Scott, there's the occasional inside the park home run, but that's a little different. But as you know, that's about 1% of home runs, maybe less. But when you hit a ball over the fence, that you can, all right, you have a moment as you're doing your trot to wave to the crowd and thank everyone for helping you get to that point. And the same thing in the rest of your life, whether it's a graduation, whether it's graduate from high school, middle school, elementary school, take a moment to thank everyone who helped you get there.
What do we learn from errors?
Gosh, you learn from errors, and there are different kinds of errors, right? There's physical errors and mental errors. And physical errors, it's just really, it's difficult. It feels terrible when you make an error, but you just have to kind of buck up and, okay, I'll get the next one. And that chapter was particularly relevant to me, Scott. I don't know which team you root for, MLB wise, but there was
You really don't know?
Oh, should I know? I apologize.
No, I've written a couple of books about what's the name of the North Side Club in Chicago, darling?
Frogs.
The Cubs.
I apologize.
That's all right.
So, it was big.
There are people who that's the only thing they know about.
Oh my goodness.
No, I
just made an error. A mental error.
Bob Gibson once.
Wow.
At a friend's birthday party in New York. And he said, his eyes narrowed, and he said, "Oh, you're the Cub man, aren't you?" And for much of the rest of the evening, I kept saying, "Come on, Mr. Gibson, just throw a dinner roll at my head. I'd love that." But he didn't rise to the bait.
Instead, I threw it.
Yeah, instead, Carol, you threw it. But go ahead.
So I have now made the error. But when you make an error, what do? You have to toughen up and move past it. And the example I have used was actually Yankees-Mets game, a rather memorable error. The Mets had a second baseman named Luis Castillo, who the Mets were winning, beating the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, had a towering pop fly. All Castillo has to do is catch this pop fly, and the Mets win. Instead, one hands it off his glove, hits the ground, and two Yankees score. So immediately they lose. It's a walk-off loss. And I remember that next day at Yankee Stadium again, I wanted to see how he would look just as he walked in the ballpark. How would he compose himself? How would he conduct himself? And he walked in with a big smile, joking around with his teammates.
Yeah.
And the Mets media relations staff, tried to protect him. So you don't have to talk to the media before the game. He said, no, I will. All the questions, did you sleep at all? Who comforted you? He answered all those questions, and then he went out and he had a great game, and he helped the Mets beat the Yankees that day.
Yeah, he left it behind. He learned from it and left it behind. Interesting the way you talk about settling down in the batter's box. How do we translate that to everyday life?
Yeah, just deep breath, obviously, and whether you have your specific routine. We've seen some superstars have their routines, whether it's Nomar Garciaparra adjusting his batting gloves, or David Ortiz would spit, which is a bit of a different chapter and a different discussion, but it was his routine. And so what you need to do to get situated to be fully comfortable in that batter's box, and the same thing with the rest of your life. What do you need to do to get comfortable in school? What time do you need to wake up? Do you need to eat your breakfast? What do you want for your breakfast? And how much do you need a little time to just settle in and get ready for the day?
Baseball has a lot of rituals. Some people would even call them superstitions. As I don't have to tell you, Mr. New York Post baseball writer, there are baseball players who will hit a home run and wear the same athletic supporter the next day.
Yes.
Because and they will wear it until, they go 0 for 4.
Mhm.
Some people would call these superstitions, but you think there's something we can learn from this?
Sure, that's chapter 94, superstitions, believe in yourself. And look, superstitions are entertaining. They can be fun, but you don't want to get to the point where if you lose your lucky jock strap, then you're in trouble. So at some level, you have to appreciate I'm doing this. The lucky jock strap or the signal I'm making before I play or whatever it is. That's not doing it. I'm doing it. So you don't put yourself in a position where if for whatever reason you can't do that superstition or ritual, it's going to cost you. And again, that's something that you can do for any walk of life. You have your lucky shirt, for a big presentation or a big exam. So those are the kind of things you just don't want to put yourself in a position where you fail because you believe too strongly in the superstition and not strongly enough in yourself.
Yeah. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but people who watch us during our pre-records on Saturday morning know I make an in-house page at NPR where I say it's a beautiful day for a radio show. Let's do 2 today and a podcast. Do you know who I'm?
Ernie Banks. I had the privilege of meeting him one time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what can we learn from life about a game where excellence can be embodied by just getting 3 hits out of every 10 chances?
Well, there's the old expression, Scott, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? So what applies better to that than baseball and the 300 batting average? Because when in baseball and softball, those other 7 times when you fail to get a hit or to reach base, you just have to realize, okay, like I'm not going to be perfect at this. And I think that's very translatable to the rest of your life with the caveat that you should aim a little higher than 3 for 10, when you're taking your math tests, right?
Or for example, if you're a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That 3 for 10 is a neurosurgeon.
Hey, I don't know what you want. I'm operating 330.
Yeah, that's problematic. That's definitely problematic. But the point being, if you get a 90 on the math test or a 95, you're not perfect, and so don't sweat those questions you got wrong. So yeah, the percentages differ, but the idea being like nobody's perfect, so don't let those misses get you down.
Yeah. Unrelated, or at least parenthetical, what do you think of the automatic ball and strike system this year?
I really like it, Scott. I think the tech is amazing. And to me, that's what differs it from the rest of instant replay, for regular players, for safe out, fair foul. Because this tech you see immediately, okay, that's a ball, that's a strike. No, as opposed to those replays like, I think he's tagged him there, I think he's out, but maybe not. Who can say? Inconclusive evidence. Therefore, the umpire's call holds. And there's a strategy element, right? Like, so I was just listening. I was in a taxi cab today in New York City, and the driver had the Yankees game on, and the Yankees broadcasters were talking about, why did they use the challenge there? Their leadoff batter, 5th inning. That wasn't a good usage of their challenge. So I like those strategic elements. And look, I think it now takes it definitely draws more attention to the umpire on one level because of the misses, but also take some onus off the umpire with the idea like, oh, this ends on a bad ball strike call. They should have kept their challenge. If they had kept their challenge, they could have overturned it.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you and Dr. Rothbart for this totally delightful book that I will be quoting endlessly. 101 Lessons from the Dugout. Ken Davidoff and Dr. Harley A. Rothbart, MD. So thanks very much for being with us. And tomorrow night, we just want to say we will have Mark Harmon. Yeah. Often confused with Ken Davidoff, but we're going to have two heartthrobs. What can I tell you? Sunday and Monday. That's it. We're just, crawling over heartthrobs here on Open Book. And it will also be our technical director's birthday tomorrow. So,
will be.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ken, someone says, thank you. Can't wait for Mark Harmon as well. So I think that kind of puts you.
People will definitely watch this one, though.
I think this will put you on the same level.
I'm hitting ahead of Mark Harmon. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah. He wanted to go tonight, and we said no. Are you kidding? So thanks very much, everybody, for being with us on our Open Book. Very good to be with all of you again. We're still trying to work out our problems with X. Not that I get any response from them, but this will also be RT'd on Blue Sky and YouTube, and
we're going to get to Threads.
And
we'll get a Skywriter.
I'll go goddamn door to door if we need to, okay?
I can make a good flyer.
You can make a good flyer, yeah. So thanks very much, and thanks to Ken Davidoff for everything. Take care.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.